Another exciting episode of Terp Trends. This time, we're sitting down with Silas from Black Bear Hemp Dispensary, a passionate advocate and dedicated professional in Pennsylvania's medical cannabis program. Silas has been deeply involved in patient care for years, working to break down the barriers and stigmas around cannabis use. His mission? To empower patients, help them feel comfortable in their own skin, and reignite their zest for life through the healing power of cannabis. Tune in as we dive into Silas's journey, his approach to patient care, and how he's making a difference in the lives of so many in Pennsylvania's medical cannabis community. This is one conversation you won't want to miss. This is Terp Trends. Let's dive in.
Hey. All right. Yeah, thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, man. So where are you out of right now, brother?
So I live over in Penn Hills with my fiance. Our shop, our Black Bear Dispensary is right in Swiftsville, which is just like 10 minutes away. So that's been great as far as the quality of life. But we kind of ended up in this area because my fiance grew up on this side of the city. She's got a lot of family and stuff over here, and
Nice.
we've been in Penn Hills for the past like 3-4 years.
Yeah, and now are you originally, so you're more on like the western side of PA compared to me. Is that where you're from?
I grew up in Brookville, which is more like north central, a rural town out on I-80 between like Clarion and Du Bois, up in the Pennsylvania area between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then I was down in Pittsburgh for college, went back home for about 5 years, and then we've been living back in Pittsburgh since 2017.
Oh, wow. That's cool. And it's been going well, huh?
Yeah, it's great, dude. I love the city.
And the med program pretty much opened up around 2016, 2017 in PA. Did you go to school for anything that you're doing with that?
So I went to pharmacy school at Duquesne University, which obviously gave me a huge leg up as far as getting into the cannabis industry in Pennsylvania. The way that they wrote out the regulations requiring the healthcare professional to be in the store at all times, it gave pharmacists an advantage in a really competitive field to get employment. But as far as pharmacy school back then, it did nothing to prepare you for cannabis at all besides, patient consultations and kind of just like your manner, and you're able to relate to people and get questions to find out what they're looking for, and, how to have those productive conversations that I hope is one of my specialties in the industry.
Yeah.
But the only exposure I had in college was through a class called Drugs of Abuse, which is obviously a horribly named class to learn about cannabis in.
Yeah.
And things have evolved since then as far as pharmacy schools having their students doing continuing education and things like that in dispensaries. Back then, it was just that one elective self-taught class. It was,
Wow.
30 students, and everyone picked one drug of abuse to then present the lecture on for that class. And I chose cannabis and was fortunate to be able to do that. And then at that point in time, it was like, hey, we're being told that we don't really understand how these things work, and these are mystery drugs, and they're dangerous because we don't exactly know what's going on in your body when you're using them. But that was the time that I started to really realize, like, wait a second, we do understand a lot of what's going on in your body when you consume cannabis, and how it's benefiting people.
Yeah. And so when you're doing that, did you find any evidence of major abuse of cannabis compared to other drugs that may be abused?
No. One of the things that I looked at specifically was the gateway drug theory, that, you start using cannabis and the next thing it's reefer madness and you're using harder drugs and things like that. And that was, as far as that specific aspect of it, that was the thing that was really reassuring to me, that I could have like a little bit of a study, which it's always difficult to find information in this industry because the prohibition has stunted that research for so long. But to be able to start finding legitimacy and things that you could push back whenever people kind of promote the stigmas or the misconceptions about cannabis, the gateway drug theory, has been basically kind of used as common knowledge or something, at least in like the conservative areas that I grew up in, and when it came to like drug education and things as a child or whatever in the schools. So being able to like look at that and be like, okay, we need to push that to the side and move on from that. That was very inspiring for me too.
Yeah. Now, when you're going through this, you're obviously in the cannabis realm now. when you were growing up, were you consuming any type of cannabis or doing anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean I started consuming cannabis pretty young, probably like 14 or 15. Sorry, mom.
Yep, same. Sorry,
But
parents.
she's familiar with my history now. But it was far more accessible than alcohol or even tobacco. And I was probably self-medicating, as like a
Yeah.
teenager and going through some things, and it helped out with like stress relief and things like that. I wouldn't say I was using it appropriately, and it was very difficult to at the time. But yeah, I've been a regular user for what that was over 20 years ago now, and
Yeah.
my brain hasn't rotted out or anything, and I'm not using other drugs. So
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy how that works out, right?
yeah,
We should all be
yeah,
lunatics by now from what we all been
yeah. I know.
told. Yeah. Yeah, so what kind of picture were they painting in school? Because obviously you're studying like pharmacology and everything like that, and I don't think they would spend a lot of time talking about maybe natural medicines or cannabis. So I'm sure they kind of painted a different picture of that from what you've been getting
Yeah,
to carve yourself, you know?
honestly, it was kind of just brushed over, or if it was brought up at all in pharmacy school, it was in reference to like the scheduling of drugs. This means if you're a Schedule One drug, that is high risk for abuse and tolerance, and so that's kind of just where it would go. And there wasn't a medical program in Pennsylvania, so there wasn't a reason kind of for pharmacists to get involved with it or for the pharmacy schools. So everything that I've basically learned about cannabis has been self-taught through working in the industry, talking to patients, talking to other healthcare professionals, which was very challenging because whenever I took the job to get into the medical marijuana industry, it was with Rise back in 2019, I think,
Okay.
and we were opening up their store in Latrobe, and I was the assistant manager. We didn't have a single person that was in the industry, so we were starting
Wow.
from yeah, we were starting from scratch as far as I'm trying to learn about the cannabinoids and the health benefits while also teaching the staff, teaching the patients. So I was trying to get my hands on whatever information I could. I had an hour commute each way, so I was banging out podcasts, trying to
Yeah.
find the research and the books and things like that, which we already had honestly available in our apartment because my fiance has been very passionate about advocacy for years before I got into the medical marijuana program. But for me, it was more like something like I supported her doing it.
Yeah.
Obviously an advocate for the plant and the war on drugs and the things that were terrible, but I didn't see it as I didn't see myself being of value to the industry because it's like, what did I learn in pharmacy school about cannabis? I don't have access to special information that other people have, but I started kind of learning more that, there's a lot of advocates for the plant out there.
Yeah.
And what was missing was that the patients needed advocates too. There's a lot of people that don't even know what cannabis can do for them health wise. And those are the people that I like. That was really valuable to me as far as meeting people that have been going through health issues their whole life and on all these medications, and they didn't know where to start. And honestly, I didn't really know where to start with them either. But
Yeah.
working hand in hand, talking to them every week, trying different things out, seeing like the results of your work firsthand is was really fulfilling and satisfying to me. And that was at that point, after that opportunity with Rise, was when I was like, this is where I feel like I belong.
Yeah. Yeah, it is wild seeing the benefits of it medicinally in first person. Like when you have a patient come in and they start using this medicine, and within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, their whole change of mood, their whole body movement, if they're dealing with certain ailments in that way. Like I've seen people come in when they first saw me in the beginning of the program, they're walking with a walker or a cane or in a wheelchair. And by a couple months in, we're really dialing their RSO or their tinctures, and you see their whole quality of life return. And these
Yep.
people are walking around again, and it's because of a plant. And when
Yeah.
and it blows my mind how you have to like advocate for it so hard for the people that never seen it. They just don't believe it, you know.
Yep.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
you saw that firsthand. So you're ASM of Rise. Did you jump in? So you're on like the front end of the things. Did you jump into the medical side of things then, and we're doing consultations at all?
Oh yeah, my role was always like a manager slash pharmacist, which Rise was rolling out in their stores at a time, which they didn't
Okay,
really
cool.
work. Yeah,
Oh yeah, because that's a
and I
handful then.
yeah, it's a lot, man. The workload was crazy, but yeah, from day one, it was I was a pharmacist, and then my GM was a pharmacist too. And back then, a lot of people were walking in the door looking for consultations because it was
Yeah,
so new.
yeah,
So I mean, we were busting our ass all day long, but it was worth it. It was worth it not just for like the opportunities in my career, but because you start to see people that were on hundreds of milligrams of morphine equivalents a day, and it comes down to they're taking 10 or 30, or the people that like you talk to them after a couple months, and they're stopping by, and you're like, hey, you look great, and they're like, yeah, do you remember like what it was like when I was coming in here before? Or
yeah,
hey, see, I'm not using my cane anymore, or whatever it is. So I was always trying to find a way to blend that into everything I did in the store, especially in training our staff, which I really probably wasn't qualified to do. I didn't have any experience doing that.
yeah. Did
But
you have any type of sales background or do any type of like growing up
no,
retail or anything like that either? Yeah.
no, no,
No.
no. I
Nice,
I
man.
had Yeah, I mean, I had worked sometime in retail pharmacies,
Yeah,
but my work history was all working in the hospital systems.
I
So
gotcha.
my interaction with the patients was very minimal. So that is one of the things that I find to be a strength of mine that I just didn't have any ability to use. And you're sitting in the basement of a hospital somewhere, you're on the phone and clicking your mouse, but you're not seeing what happens to that patient. 99.99% of the times, you're not seeing any results of your work. So that was a huge shift in like my career, and that is what healthcare should be about too. I think especially in pharmacists, you're always on the front end of being connecting like the doctors and the patients to their medicines or whatever, but to be able to kind of put it all together and work with it in a way that the patient can understand and it fits into their lifestyle, as opposed to like, hey, I have to go to the pharmacy and do this, I have to go to the doctor and do this, they're going to try this next, they're going to try that. Yeah, was just something that was totally new to me in my career that I fell in love with.
Yeah, I think the interactions with it is definitely more of the benefit. And for people that aren't familiar, that are listeners that aren't in Pennsylvania, and I don't know if other medical states kind of adapted or did the same thing. So we had to have medical professionals in our dispensaries when we first opened, and you had to go through a consultation with the medical staff. And what was like what was that like? If we could walk us through like what your consultations looked like for people to then get approved to purchasing their medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I open up with obviously is like, what brings you in today? And that might seem like basic, but quite frankly, a lot of the indications back then were a little bit more restricted than they are now. So what was on their certification might have just been the tip of the iceberg as far as what they were actually looking for to improve their quality of life. If you have any sort of cannabis experience, or are we starting like totally from scratch, are you comfortable with the intoxicating and euphoric type effects of cannabis? That can be startling for people, even though that's why most of us know and love it. But making sure that the patient is comfortable with that and they're not going to have a weird experience on their very first trip into the dispensary is like really
Yeah.
important. Then how they're comfortable, so the dry leaf flower was approved in the dispensaries by the time I got into the program in 2019.
Nice. That's a
Yeah, so that
blessing
was
because
yeah,
it
that
was
was a
fun without
blessing.
it was so weird without it, man.
Yeah, and there were still those, you saw the flower shortages and stuff, and we might have one sativa, one indica, one hybrid on the shelf, and
Yeah.
it was chaos.
We had to
But
limit people. Like we like you can only buy one eighth. Like sorry, we only got like 10 eighths in and you can only buy one of them today.
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
like,
or
"What?"
we
And
would
plot twist, you can't smoke it either.
yeah, yeah. Trying to explain someone that's never even smoked pot how to vape pot,
Yeah.
is
Man, it was a
it
great
in
time.
itself. Yeah. And then, we'd get our flower shipments in from one of the popular brands, and it'd hit the menu, and we would just be, line out the door for 4 hours, and then it's gone, and you're like, what now?
Yep.
Luckily, we don't have to deal with those type of problems in the dispensaries anymore as far
Yeah.
as what's available. But people didn't realize like what I can just put this under my tongue, or the topicals and things like that. And that's a really easy way for a lot of people to transition into using cannabis, to
Yeah.
give them the most comfortable way to do it. That's going to be minimally, if at all, intoxicating to them. And they realize like whatever they were afraid of happening to them, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then you just try to get them to want to take the next step and trust you and work with you to figure out what cannabis can do for them. And it's not a miracle drug for every patient, and you
No.
have to have the reasonable expectations too. That would be a conversation as well, like, hey, our best case scenario might be that we're just going to take like the sharp edges off of your pain here. Or if we can start with just helping you get to sleep, we can see what this is going to do for the rest of your day. And certainly there's patients that after a few visits, they didn't see progress that they were looking for, and they probably gave up on the program or on cannabis in general. But those instances are so minimal in the past, 5.5 years that I've been working the program.
Yeah.
Almost everyone can find some sort of comfortable way for them to get some level of relief from whatever symptoms or conditions they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Especially now that we definitely have a better range of pricing. Because when the program first started, I mean, I know it was brutal for a lot of people trying
Yeah.
to substitute their already prescribed medicine, which they're getting insurance for, so they have help. And now they're coming to a medicine that there's no help for financially, and it was pretty pricey when the program first started. So it's
Yeah.
really cool to see how we adapted to that, and more people are kind of able to get their medicine financially, which benefits everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It was really hard to
No,
tell people, like hearing people say they can't afford their medicine. It's like, I should just give it to you, but I
right.
can't, like
And that's the same way that I would feel in pharmacies, though, too. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was crummy to have to pay have someone pay you when they're struggling, and this is a life-saving medication or whatever. It's a dirty side of healthcare in any aspect. Now in Pennsylvania, I have more patients that are kind of pleasantly surprised that I can get them out the door at a low price point,
yeah,
with a couple different things to try, as opposed to, back in the day when there was $75 eighths and $70 half-gram cartridges and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people would just come in and have sticker shock.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was Standard Farms. Their first thing was a syringe they came out with, and it was $140 at my store. That wasn't their pricing. That was the pricing that the company I worked for unfortunately priced it at, and it was
Yeah,
$140 for a 1 gram, 1,000 milligram syringe, CO2 syringe. It wasn't even
yeah,
RSO, just CO2.
yeah. And I remember there was a
Standard,
mother.
hang on real quick. Standard Farms, don't get upset. We know you're doing great things now. This was
Yeah,
when
dude.
the program first started, so you're doing
Yeah,
good things. Don't get turned off
they're
by that.
they are definitely crushing it these days. Yeah,
They're
no
crushing
doubt.
it. They're crushing
Yeah,
it. Yep,
yeah.
yep, yep.
Um,
Anyway, keep going.
I remember one mother. She drove 4 hours across the state to get GG4 flour so she could cook it down into RSO oil for her child.
Yeah,
She was doing that every month or every 3 weeks or whatever, just so her child, to improve her child's quality of life. So like my fiance and I and Black Bear, like we're all about the accessibility, and the program has come so long way, not just in the prices, but people don't have to drive an hour to get to a dispensary. And that, I think, that did kind of hold up the program for quite a while. It was very slowly growing for a minute. But now that you're seeing the dispensaries in even the more rural communities, the prices have come down, and I think we're starting to really bust through the stigma of like, hey, we're not going to come in here with our businesses and desecrate your communities. We're not going to harm your population or increase crime or whatever the problem is. Um,
do you feel like the program's still continuing and you're seeing new faces?
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I don't know what lays ahead for the Pennsylvania medical and or adult recreational. I do
Yeah.
hope that they keep the medical program in place.
You looking for top tier hemp products in Pittsburgh? Black Bear Hemp Dispensary has you covered. From THCA flower to solves and edibles, they've got something for everybody. One of my favorites. Are you struggling with sleep? Ask about their CBN products or explore other cannabinoids tailored to your needs. Follow them on Instagram at blackbear_disp. That's underscore DISP, and experience the care and quality you deserve. Happy holidays, everybody. Yeah.
Because there are still patients, that I go into to the medical dispensary that I work at, and there'll be a couple notes for me, give a call. And yeah, 99% of the time, it's something that a bud tender or any other knowledgeable person about the plant, could help answer that question. But some people, they need that second level of like reassurance that like, hey, this is a medical professional. I can ask them a question that I wouldn't be as comfortable asking someone else. But yeah, I'm still seeing it, not as many consultations, of course, as like whenever that was a requirement,
Yeah.
but there's still a steady stream of it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome to hear. I hope it still continues to. And I think I agree with you. Having that medical side and just a slower pace where someone can come and sit down and talk to somebody, I think is very important because the pace when recreational happens is way different.
Yeah.
It's a fast retail experience. So if you want more of an intimate medical setting, it's definitely important to keep that open,
Hmm.
and contact people like Silas. You know what
Hey.
I'm saying? So that's cool. So you're working in the dispensaries, obviously getting some retail experience, some pharmacy experience, and then something happened and you broke into your own venture, which is what Black Bear turned into, right? So how did that kind of get developed?
Yeah, so I met the founders of Black Bear, Carrie and Jesse, whenever I first started working in the PA medical programs. She did everything for Green Thumb Industries in Pennsylvania, from like store
Nice.
management to brand ambassador to like on the marketing and the sales stuff. She was one of the people that I met in the program that was like, dang, this person loves what they're doing and is really good at it. And so, after I left the first company I was working with in the medical program, and I don't know if I just saw that Carrie and Jesse had opened up their Black Bear franchises or their Black Bear stores, and I kind of just reached out and was like, hey, this is super cool, like congratulations, whatever, let me know if I can help out, if you want to have a
Yeah.
pharmacist day or whatever, if you think I have any value. And then, several months after that, they were like, hey, we're actually going to, be offering franchise opportunities in the near future. And I was like, I'm 100% in. Like, these are the type of people I want to work with. This is
Yeah, man.
100% like what my fiance and I have been looking for the opportunity to do for years. It's going to be hopefully able to give me that fulfillment and like the joy that I got from working in the cannabis industry without
Yeah.
like the corporate structure that really sapped, all of like
Yeah.
the fun of working in the dispensaries from me for a minute.
Yeah.
I
Me
was
too.
just totally burn out, with working on that end of things. And I didn't want to keep going up like the corporate ladder and getting further and further away from the patients. I remember one time someone was asking me like, "Oh, are you going to go to the district manager? Are you looking for a regional position?" And I was like, "I'd rather go back to working the cash register, to be honest with you. Like, that's
Yeah.
what I like doing in the dispensary." Unfortunately, you it's hard to find a job to pay off your student loans working a cash
Yeah.
register. So Black Bear has been absolutely perfect for me on that end. It's like the perfect mix of patient care and access. And we have people that come in from medical dispensaries, or they're just not, they think that they deserve like a dispensary type experience, without having to jump through the hoops in the program.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been great. It's just been great to spread the word in the communities that we're working. And we do still have the people that are coming in for legitimate, serious medical issues that we're able to help out with. So,
Yeah. That's awesome.
um,
For people that don't know Black Bear, it is hemp derived in a hemp dispensary per se, right?
yes, yeah, yeah. So what hemp means is, and this is the conversation we've had, 70 times a day since we opened back in our franchise back in May. Hemp isn't just CBD. It's not just like the fibrous parts of the plant that they use for textiles or whatever. They defined what is hemp and what is marijuana, which is a term that really shouldn't be used in the medical program in the first place, strictly by the content of delta 9 THC. So if you're looking for gummies and tinctures and drinks like that, it's very easy to get a hemp compliant product in there because it's just based on the weight. And for most people, you're using what, 5, 10, 50, maybe 100 milligrams of THC at a time. So we have a lot of really good options that are really comparable to the medical programs. That definition of hemp kind of opened our way up to just selling the flower as well. In Pennsylvania, that has kind of been pushed the past, like, I don't know, within the past year and a half or two, that they're like, hey, this is what you wrote in as the definition of hemp. And so, we have the report. This is hemp compared, like, as is written in the law. Yes, what we have maybe called it something else before 2018, but I didn't write the farm bill. The people that are writing the farm bill, if it was their intention to put more restrictions on these type of cannabinoids, then they should learn more about the plant
before they put the restrictions on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is wild.
That's my soapbox.
No, I like it. And I love to see where it is now. And I was in the age of hemp before all of that kind of came out, and like right at 2017, 2018. So as soon as it first dropped, so we are in still such of a gray area of hemp. So I'm really happy to see where it was like resolved to, and the capabilities of it for people to understand, and now the access that they're now able to have.
Right.
Because limiting this plant is it's very aggravating. Hopefully it's
absolutely.
Hopefully it's on the
end.
And
it's a losing battle. Very few people are walking into Black Bear totally naive to cannabis. People have had access to cannabis on the black market and will continue to, regardless of what they're doing. So give us the opportunity to make it safe. Give us the opportunity to learn about the products, and then the consumer to learn about the products. Not that they're just buying off the street and throwing stuff at the wall and hope it sticks, or just misusing it. Basically, whenever we have enough information to help people use the plant effectively and efficiently and safely. So I hope that whatever happens in the medical program in the adult use, it truly increases accessibility, as opposed to further trying to clamp down on who can buy this legally and who is still going to be pushed to the black markets.
Yeah, I think it's just they need to just get a better understanding of it. It's a community plant. And then out here now, PA wants to have control of it, like in the state stores and everything like that. So I'm very curious to see where they're coming up with these ideas and what's going to get pushed. Yeah. I wasn't happy to see it because we have a lot of potential here in PA. And on the East Coast with cannabis, I think we're a very cannabis enriched coast compared to the West Coast. I think we have a lot of credibility that we can add to it.
Yeah, and the experience of shopping for cannabis is not at all similar to the experience of shopping for alcohol in a state store. And you don't have the same customers, you don't have the same reasons that people are shopping there in the first place.
No.
That is a specifically preposterous proposal, I think, as far as I don't think it has a chance of actually going in place, but those are the type of ideas that are being thrown out there.
Yeah. So when someone's coming into Black Bear, what's a typical experience they can think of, and what kind of products are they going to see there?
Yeah, for sure. We've got topicals, which are game-changing for a lot of people. We have some really high-quality transdermal products helping out people with their nerve pain, their joint pain, their muscle pains, things like that. And that is what a lot of people are coming in for initially.
Yeah.
Some of the people that they're like, hey, I'm looking for a CBD cream. And we're able to talk to them about those products too, and not just like, all right, this is the one we got here at GNC.
Yeah.
Our tinctures, we work with a pharmacist, Gerald, he has a brand called Defiant Remedies, and he's doing a lot of work with the non-intoxicating and the lesser intoxicating cannabinoids, CBN, CBG, CBC.
Oh, perfect.
Working combinations with all those things. So we have a lot of tools in our belt compared to what's in the medical dispensaries that is usually just pushing towards the high THCA products right now.
Yeah.
Our flower is 5-star stuff for sure. That's my primary method of consumption. I've always preferred the control and kind of the whole experience of it, of grinding your flower and packing your joint and kind of just working your medicine like that.
When it comes to the flower you guys are sourcing, do you ever go for like a hemp permit yourselves? and cultivate? Or are you just working with growers that do, or how's that all work out?
Yeah, so we do not have a hemp license right now. It's definitely something that I've thought about
Yeah. Oh,
as
that'd
a
be
next
sweet.
step. Yeah, that's going to be, a huge undertaking for sure. Right now, THCA flower is, even if it's considered hemp, isn't allowed to be grown in Pennsylvania to sell to places like us. So all of the product in the Pennsylvania medical program, as you know, is grown in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
The flower in our dispensaries is not. That being said, there's places all over the country that have been like growing good cannabis for a long time, and in climates and environments that would be better than Pennsylvania anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is something, as far as we're trying to be a local brand. Hopefully in the future we will be able to source like more of our products locally and from Pennsylvania than we do right now.
Yeah. Which depends on the state, unfortunately. The hands are
Yeah,
tied, which stinks. It really
right.
puts a damper in things when you want to get it moving.
I know.
Yeah.
But there's people everywhere that want cannabis and they want the access to it, even in the limited circumstances that we have, you have people that are seeking it out. So yeah, I don't know. I think trying to like put the brakes or slow down the progression of the program in the industry in Pennsylvania is just would be counterproductive. So hopefully they just really act in like a more progressive way with the cannabis.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people on the medical side, they think there's just more transparency to it, but can you also provide like testing from the flower that's being sold and the products that's being sold at Black Bear?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We get the cannabinoid testing, of course, to show that we're compliant. And that it is a hemp type product. And that's the thing that's huge to Jesse and Carrie, obviously, is the safety and the quality of their inventory, because quite frankly, there is kind of the gray area in the laws has opened up space for bad actors, for bad labeling, for companies that can just sell you product without having the safety lab reports in there. Like, are there no metals in this? Are there no pesticides or whatever people are worried about? We can meet that same standard in our industry. It is more
Yep.
difficult. We have to. It's harder for us to source the brands that we want on our shelves. Whereas in the medical program, it's like if you're getting that it's been tested twice by the laboratory and it came in and it's safe. When you're running a store in Pennsylvania buying or whatever, you don't have to worry about that. We do have to do that, but it's just something you have to take the extra step to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our customers.
Yeah, yeah, and I just wanted to highlight that because I know that's a lot of fear of maybe new users or people that are just getting involved with using cannabis. They're under the impression that just because it's labeled from a medicinal store, that nothing else is of quality. And I think we need to kind of shed that and understand that there is quality in other places. And I think this industry prides themselves, at least the people that are advocates for it, on quality control. Obviously, there are some individuals and companies, we won't get involved to it, who have ruined that image. But I think overall, we do care for quality control, and I don't want people to think just because it's from a medicinal store that a store like Black Bear is inferior to that,
Right.
because you guys are offering way more cannabinoids than a medicinal store is right now. So in my eyes, that gives them more access through
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
which
Yeah.
people should understand. You need more cannabinoids. This isn't a one molecule theory, single molecule theory thing anymore. You need more
Right.
molecules.
Yeah. And the other thing with that is like you can buy these products in gas stations. You can go to the register and there will be some sort of weird THCA mushroom chocolate there by the register. And I've had people bring in products that they bought at gas stations, brought them into the medical dispensary and be like, "What the hell is this, dude? Like I was just high for 3 days off of this. What is even in here?" And I'm like, "Well, let me take a look at
No.
it."
Yeah.
And the labeling is very vague. The QR code doesn't take you to COA anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and those are also like the type of places that unfortunately like a hemp dispensary is being associated with. So
Yeah. Yeah.
The regulations that would require, I think most of the regulations that are common sense would just benefit us as a business and us as the community in cannabis, as far as, people, to just give them a little bit more of that peace of mind, that
Yeah.
they can trust the product and it's not being sold next to harmful things.
Yes.
Um, and we have people come into our shop and like, do you sell any of those mushroom type things? Or, they have weird like pressed tablets and kratom and all these things that like I don't understand that well. I'm not going to try to make a buck off of them. We're
Yeah.
here because we're advocates for cannabis, not just for like a weird drug trade.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, weird synthetic. I'm not too familiar with the other ones as well. But so that's great. So you have the flower. It's tested. People can check it out. They can see what's going on with that. And then you're mentioning edibles, right?
Yeah. The edibles that we have, I think, are we do have better options in the medical dispensaries because of the blends of cannabinoids that we get in. We have, you're just Delta 9 THC edibles. You add in some CBG, CBN, CBC, CBD. It totally changes how that works inside your body and what it can be helpful for. The medical marijuana, the MSOs in Pennsylvania, that's not the big money makers for them. If 5 people are coming in to buy a gummy every week, they're probably not going to keep making that.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, those are 5 very important customers that I want to work with to find the exact thing that they're looking for to get out of their cannabis. And it's always a trial and error like that. And so being able to have like the one-on-one interaction time on that to explain like, hey, I've been struggling. I've been trying to use cannabis for this. It's just not helpful. Do you have any ideas? And it's like, have you ever even considered, this option over here? And it's usually not. It's usually people that are just looking for the THC. But as far as, the tools in our belt in the dispensary, THCV has been a great one for people. It's great for the energetic type effects. And I'm a person that always had issues with that using cannabis. I was always an evening time person.
Yeah.
They have a few THCV products in the medical dispensary, I think. But, we have a line of products that has different ratios of the THCV in them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So people can kind of control the euphoric and the intoxicating type effects while they're also getting the benefits of those minor cannabinoids. The other big one is the CBN, which is one of my favorite cannabinoids as far as personal use.
I was about to bring that up, so I'd love to shed some light on CBN because I love it as well.
Yeah. For sure. It's great for promoting the REM sleep cycle, whereas that is one of the first things I talk to with any patient that would come in looking for a consultation. Like, are you having trouble sleeping? Is it a result of this condition that you're talking about? Can we start there, getting you rest at night? It's, sleep is probably our most reliably predictable effect, and a lot of people are just using heavy enough doses of THC that they're getting stoned enough to fall asleep or whatever, or maybe they're just getting stoned enough that it helps out with their pain and they're able to fall asleep. But it doesn't help out getting the restorative sleep that you're looking for. It impedes the REM sleep cycle where your body does a lot of the recovery in there. So you're able to use the THC and CBN together to have much more reasonable doses of THC.
Yeah.
It's great for, I have a lot of elderly patients that like it because they'll wake up from a sleep in the middle of the night if they have to go to the bathroom, and it's not just they're waking up totally stoned and they're losing their balance or whatever. You don't have the green hangover from the next day. Parents that have to be on point for their kids in the middle of the night. The options are not just limited to purely intoxicating effects and trying to manage how to be high. You can get the relief you're looking for without being uncomfortably high.
Which is important because if you're not someone that was used to consuming cannabis and now you're having to take and dial in sizes of RSO, but you're still worried about how intoxicating you're going to be, like it is, I'm sure it's a lot. Like I was someone who started consuming at a young age, but then having to emphasize with people just getting into the program, especially the elderly, you have to be just like tread very lightly. And I just say start very slow. So it's cool that you guys have more of an option, especially CBN, where they can have access to that, man. That's awesome. And I'm sure it's helped you because I've read some things with you and your insomnia or just sleep sleep issues. So I'm glad you have access to that too, man. And you have a way to
100%.
relate to people going through it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I think that's important too. Like I said when we started, you can't learn about cannabis, or at least it wasn't even an option to learn about cannabis out of a book.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've learned more from the patients that I've worked with over the years than I have taught, because everyone's experience is so different. You start to talk to so many people, and so many different things that people are going through, rare conditions that they walk in and like, you've probably never heard of this one before, and I'll be like, actually, we do have a patient that works like that.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is just by putting in the work and spending your time talking to all the patients, and kind of digging in, and building that bond with them that makes them, trust you enough to kind of expose themselves and their healthcare to you in this setting that is, people can still feel a little, weird about it. You're buying cannabis, and that
Yeah.
used to be a big time no.
Yep.
And so some people don't want to they just want to be in and out, or they're just like, they're reluctant. And that Carrie, Lester, that was one of the founders of Black Bear, she was like one of the best people that I ever saw do that, in the way that she could, take like the complexities of cannabis and break it down and talk to someone and narrow it into exactly what they're looking for.
That's awesome. That's so important. That's what we advocate for. You know what I mean? So I applaud you guys. You seem like you have a really, really defined crew over there.
Yeah,
That's
we
cool for that community.
yeah, we're trying. We've got a lot of great regulars. Everyone seems to be happy that we're in the neighborhood. Our first ever patient that walked in the door on 420 last year, we didn't even like, yeah, we still had like some construction guys in there. We were really trying to do anything we could to be able to serve patients or customers on 420. She was a little lady in the neighborhood, and she was just diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and she
Wow.
was in a very bad mental headspace because of that, kind of dealing with that diagnosis. And it's very overwhelming, to be dealing with that. And she just walked in and was like, hey, do you have anything that you think could help me? And I'm like, yeah, I think we probably can. You can't make any guarantees about this, but let's start working on it. Let's start talking about it. And, I found her article from the American Parkinson's Association, I think, talking about CBN and its neuroprotective activities. It's just the kind of work, a very comfortable way for her. I'm not a person that's just trying to sell a daily supplement or anything to you. But I think if you want to start using something to see some progress and just kind of gradual results day to day, let's start doing this. And then she's been coming in for a couple different things, trial and errors. And then 2 weeks ago, I bumped into her in the local watering hole. And it was very serendipitous, actually, because I honestly I sold her a vaporizer that has CBN and CBG and CBC,
Nice.
CBD, and yeah, it's kind of a niche product, and I was going to call her just to see if it had helped her, to see if I should even buy more, because she was, one of the only patients I had it, and she was thrilled about it. She said, yeah, this is great. She was using the CBN before, but as I was saying, it causes the drowsiness and the sleep, and she was looking for a way to use CBN throughout the day. she
Nice.
was she was pumped about it, and that was just not an option that was going to be open to her, at least not in her community, until 8 months ago now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And then you guys, do you also have concentrates?
We've got concentrates. We are working on sourcing some really high quality ones, hopefully get the dab heads in here.
Nice.
The getting compliant concentrates can be a little bit tricky. A lot of the diamonds and things that are just really strong THCA.
Yeah.
But we are working. We got some stuff in with Lucky Elk, who
Nice.
is a pretty respected name in like the hemp side of the game,
Yeah.
and we're hoping to get the word out to our dab community in the next couple weeks and have some good options for them too. There is that community out there. It just really wasn't a focus for us when we're starting, because a lot of people are like, what the dab? What do I have to use a
Yes.
torch? Do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Do I have to invest in an expensive piece of equipment, which
Whole
you
other
don't?
side of it.
Yeah, we have little straws that you can put onto any 510 thread and turn it into a nectar collector. Bing bang
Nice.
boom.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's more of like an area of focus for growth for us in the
Yeah.
next year. And
Yeah.
part of that is because I'm kind of a lightweight. Personally, I don't use a lot of the dabs, so I didn't
For sure.
see that which was an oversight by my part. But whenever you're looking at the things that you need to stock and how much of what, that wasn't a focus of mine. But I'm gonna correct that one.
This episode is brought to you by Waddle, the world's fastest and easiest way to review and track your medicinal cannabis products. Waddle offers batch-specific reviews, so you'll know what to stash or what to trash. It's exclusively available for Pennsylvania medical cannabis patients. Waddle helps you take the guesswork out of your cannabis journey and ensures transparency with the verified product tracking. Download Waddle now on iOS or Android, that's WODL, and take control of your cannabis experience today. Yeah, yeah, I think that'll be cool to see, but I'm sure that definitely is hard to source, especially on the parameters that you have to be under. With the
Yeah,
concentrate, it's harder than the flower for sure.
for sure. It's a more expensive process, so people have to pay a little bit more for it. And we don't, we can see the pictures and maybe some videos, but you don't ever actually see the product until it's actually in our hands. So it's kind of unnerving to spend a lot of money on an inventory or something and not sure if it's going to be high quality enough for you or if it's going to sell.
Yeah,
I think we're at the point of establishment in Black Bear that we're going to be able to expand even more the selections that we have.
yeah, that's going to be awesome to see. So you mentioned a lady coming in with Parkinson's, and you're seeing improvement with that. And then you
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned someone close to you dealt with and is dealing with MS, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
we don't have to get personal with it, but could you just touch base with how cannabis is helping with that and maybe other people are going through it, what they could be doing?
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to overstep because my fiance Maria has MS and she was using, we were both using cannabis before her diagnoses, which was like 7 or 8 years ago now. But that was one of the things that I could do personally to help this person I love is to learn about cannabis and how it can help her body. Having that experience to understand what she's going through is invaluable to the patients that come in that have MS because they're like, I know you can't see what's going on in my body, but this is what's happening. This is what I'm needing help with, and it's a whole slew of different things. It's not just pain, and it's not just mobility or whatever it is. So seeing firsthand the number of medications that you can avoid
Wow.
or come off of or at least reduce, that's a huge thing for a lot of people in the cannabis industry. Cannabis community is like a holistic, natural,
Yeah.
homeopathic type of crowd for the most part. And they're much more comfortable using a natural medicine than these drugs that they're difficult even for me as a pharmacist to explain what they do.
Yeah.
And it's very scary it's very scary to deal with all these things at one time. And I think that taught me a lot, maybe not about MS specifically, but just about approaching every single patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know what's going on under a person is walking around fine, but they're dealing with this autoimmune condition that affects their life every single day. And whether it's MS or IBS or Crohn's disease and any autoimmune condition, kind of oftentimes that's another thing that the patient is going through is the battle of that people can't even see is going on.
100%.
But yeah, sorry, I don't know if I answered any question there. Being able to see in my apartment every day the powers of cannabis, it was just all the more reason to keep pushing and fighting the good fight.
Yeah, for sure. And does she use anything, like what does she prefer?
She will rip some dabs for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's always had like a higher tolerance than I do. One thing that was really helpful that we had access to in the medical program was high CBD dabs.
Okay. Cool. Like the Harley Quinn or something like that?
Yeah, the Harlequin, there was a rhythm like the Blue Dream CBD, and they were doing some like CBD type blends, like one to one type stuff.
Nice.
Um, and finding a way to get heavy doses of THC into a person that has MS and needs a higher dose to like cut it. They need a more serious dose to cut into their more serious condition. CBD is really helpful for that.
Nice.
The topicals have been great too, because you can't just be blasted on THC all the time. So we both use a lot of the topicals pretty regularly.
And you
Helps
purchased
out
them
with,
at Black Bear?
yeah, you can.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Now, I will say the most effective thing I've seen as far as the topicals in the state go are the organic remedies patches, which
Yeah,
we obviously don't carry in there.
I got it.
But I love turning people onto those at the medical dispensary.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
patient
patches
I've
are
been,
nice.
yeah, yeah. There's another patient I've been working with for a few years now, and he came in with pain. He had like a inflammatory condition, and we started like he was on tramadol for his pain, like a lot of tramadol for his pain.
Whoa, yeah,
And so we started working with RSO to help wean off the tramadol, using the vaporizers to help with the pain control and finding out what was working for him. And it turns out at the end of, however long that took us to come across these, all he uses now is the organic remedies patches. And
wow,
if he doesn't have them, he's using a cane. He's kind of hobbling around, you can tell.
yeah,
And when he does, it's a different person.
wow,
And so I love trying to turn people onto the topicals because they are so useful for so many different things. And then of course the edibles. Me personally, I've been using cannabis for a long time. I just use 5-10 milligrams, if I'm gonna have any sort of functionality.
yeah,
But being able to get higher doses of edibles into people that they're able to tolerate, especially with the different blends of cannabinoids, which there are some in the medical dispensary now. I will see a
yes,
couple that have THC, CBD, and CBG in there. I can only think of one product offhand that has that. But those are the type of things that we can introduce to people that have this like wide-ranging disease state that is affecting a lot of the different body functions, and we can hit them with kind of a broad spectrum cannabis product that will
yeah,
hopefully affect a lot of those different products or problems. The endocannabinoid system is a lot about regulation in the body, and it can be disrupted by these disease states. And figuring out what that balance is can be really effective. And there's some really good and interesting theories about cannabis use to kind of supplement your natural endocannabinoid system, like any other disease state. If you have a low thyroid, you would take a thyroid supplement, or if your body isn't creating enough insulin, then you would take insulin supplement. The endocannabinoid system impacts so many different things in your body that I think that there is some weight behind that theory too, that you're finding a way to create that balance in this system that's already in our body that is being used every single day, and
yeah,
just letting that to function more effectively.
yeah. That's awesome. You're the man, Silas.
Hey, I'm trying, dude.
Dude, this was great talking to you
Yeah.
and just
I
learning
would
more, you know.
I would definitely recommend, you talk to Maria, because she
Oh, I'd
was
love
out
to.
yeah, she was out grinding to get the medical marijuana program off the ground before
Yeah,
2016, and she introduced me to a lot of these things that I wasn't familiar with, and inspired me. Um, yeah, she will definitely be, a better advocate for her own health and like what
yeah.
cannabis does for her. Yeah.
My plan was to have both of you, and then when I kind of like did some more research, I was like, I think it would benefit a lot to do two separate ones, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask the same thing. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
and
course,
and
of course.
if she would be willing, I would absolutely love that.
I'm sure she would love.
Yeah, yeah. So to wrap it up, how can people follow you? How can they follow Black Bear? Let's go through the socials.
Okay, cool. I'm very much not on social. This is where Maria would love it. But
Perfect.
I mean, I have a
Plug
pretty,
plug Black Bear if you want.
yeah, Black Bear Dispensary at Black Bear Disp on Instagram, at Black Bear Regent Square on Instagram. I'm Hi Jagoff, High Jagoff. I'm sure people in Philadelphia are familiar with that term. Yeah, that's probably where I think that's where we're doing the most right now. It's really difficult for us to get the word out on social media in our industry,
Yeah.
as you're aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird. I gave up on a TikTok. Anytime I try to upload anything, it just gets shut down. So I think it's
Yeah.
crazy how other people are thriving off of it, which I think is great. I think it's cool you can,
Yeah.
but it's weird how regulated it really is, especially when it comes to cannabis.
Yeah. And,
So, yeah.
the best thing to do is just stop in at your local Black Bear and meet the
Yes, it is.
team.
That's
And
right.
hopefully, yeah. And hopefully we'll be bringing more across the state.
Yeah, I mean, let's get one near me, you know? I would love that. I think I see a couple places down the road that I think would
Let's
benefit
go.
a lot with some black bear. So that's great,
Sweet.
and especially check out their socials because they do have a lot of educational stuff on their page and some seasonal cookies and some drinks you can learn. So
You got it.
definitely head over to their website. Even better, check them out in person. I'll plug in the location. And everybody, thanks for tuning in this week, especially Silas, man. Happy
Oh, no, I
holidays.
appreciate you, dude. It was great.